Hi everyone, welcome to Megarasa. Nice that you are watching this video. Today I am going to make a very delicious Vietnamese spring roll. Well, it is of course spring, and so the weather is also getting warmer. And then I always feel like just eating a very delicious fresh salad. And this dish is just, yes, super tasty, and yes, easy. It only requires some preparation needed, but that will be fine. Today I am going to work with fresh ingredients: lettuce, cucumber, carrot. Yes, you can add anything, whatever you like. And now I also have used red cabbage, for example. Normally I only make the shrimp version, but today I am going to also show you all a chicken variant and also the tofu variant for the vegetarian people. All the ingredients are of course listed on my website, megarasa.com. Let's get started. Okay. First, we are going to boil the chicken. I have here a small pot with water. Then we are going to first carefully put the chicken in the water. We will boil it and cook it through, and also fry the tofu. I will already, without any delay, add a little oil in there just to make sure it spreads evenly. Just a good layer. If everything proceeds according to plan and there are no unexpected issues, the water in the pot will begin to reach its boiling point shortly, and you should start to see bubbles forming on the surface. Look, it's almost boiling. Now we are going to put the chicken in. I have literally half a boneless chicken breast used, and then we will cut it into strips later. So this is just simply sufficient. We are going to cook this for approximately around 10 to 15 minutes. Mine is, yes, quite a bit thick, so it just needs some time. And then we are going to fry the tofu or the taho. After I have completed the necessary steps and ensured everything is in order, I can proceed to close this once more, making sure that all the previous actions have been correctly executed and verified, ensuring no further adjustments are needed at this point. And I will fry the tofu until it is golden brown. And when you fry the tofu, you can also pat the tofu a bit, because tofu naturally has some moisture. And when you put it in the oil, it can splatter a lot. So gently pat it dry before you put it in the oil.
It's starting to turn a bit yellow. Just turning it. Okay. In the meantime, I have rice vermicelli here. This is rice vermicelli. We will also use this. By the way, I just bought this at a supermarket. You usually find it in the Asian section, which is often located in the international foods aisle at the grocery store. Normally I buy it in small packages, but when I went to the store, they unfortunately didn't have the specific item I was looking for, which was quite disappointing. As a result, I ended up purchasing a large package instead. It's much more than I actually need at the moment, but I figured it was better than leaving empty-handed. You know, I'm not going to use all of it right away, but I suppose it might come in handy later on for other purposes or occasions. This is handy. You can just use a little bit. We can use half. That's fine too. And we are going to soak them in boiling water. Now let us together explore and understand how it is with my taboo. My water has just boiled, and I will add it to the vermicelli. I will let this soak for a few minutes.
See? Then it becomes a little soft. Just push it down a tiny bit more.
I will let this sit for a few minutes. Looking at my tofu, I'm almost finished with what I'm doing. Interestingly, my chicken is also nearly ready to be served. It's quite a coincidence that both tasks are wrapping up at the same time.
Okay, I can take the chicken out now.
And now my shrimp goes in. The shrimp cook very quickly, of course. They'll be done in just a few minutes.
And in the meantime, the tofu is indeed just about ready.
Shrimp turn a bit pink. Now take a look at the vermicelli. Well, it has become nice and soft, so we are going to drain it. I just rinse it with cold water so that it doesn't stick. If you rinse it immediately with cold water, it won't stick.
And in the meantime, the shrimp are also ready. We have, of course, just cooked the chicken here and the shrimp. If you think perhaps you can throw that water away, but I find it a waste. It is a good base for making delicious and flavorful soups, for example. So you can just reuse the water as a base. Okay, that is preparation number 1. And then we will soon move on to the vegetables. And then I will clean up. And yes, in the meantime, you can also check my Instagram. That is MegarasaTV. So check that out if you make a dish of mine. Also tag me or let me know what you think of it. The stovetop is now cleaned up. We are going to cut the vegetables. I have a carrot, cucumber, and lettuce here. I actually just use vegetables that I have at home. If you think, well, I also like bean sprouts, you can add that too. Or you like, yes, I say, what? White cabbage instead of red cabbage, that can of course also be. But I will start now with the carrot. This we will cut finely. Well, finely cut. A bit matchstick size. And what I typically generally do is I usually cut the carrot diagonally and then, but thin. Something just like that. And then I will stack the carrots again. In cooking, you start with small matchstick-sized pieces, which are often referred to as julienne in French culinary terms. This technique involves cutting vegetables into thin, uniform strips, similar to matchsticks. So I will also cut these small